I'm so unbothered nowadays. It's really hard to get under my skin. It's really hard for something to happen that kind of gets me upset, mad, frustrated, and those sorts of things. But we have this whole GameStop situation going on right now. Everybody seems to be talking about it, right? And, this whole situation has never made sense. The whole situation has never made sense because back when the original meme stock mania happened back in 2021, it made perfect sense. Everybody was at home, forced to be home. There was so much stimulus money that was pumped out in the system. Everybody had stimulus checks around. People were looking to gamble their money around and those sorts of things. And so you put all the pieces together, it all made sense on why we had a meme stock mania back in 2021. But then all of a sudden we have this glimpse of a revival and things aren't adding up. The things that made sense back in 2021, it doesn't make sense now, right? And now we're starting to get some truths coming out of this. Saw this out of Maverick of Wall Street on X here today. Wait, retail investors were responsible for only 7% of the turnover in GME before the pop? So guess who's really behind the craze? And this shows you essentially there was a massive elevation in regards to call options right prior to this big boom, and it actually had little to nothing to do with retail investors, mom and pops. It actually had to do much more with the big money folks, okay? Now, you watch CNBC, you watch other publications, right? They're all blaming this on retail. And it gives retail this it's kind of retail, bunch of degenerate gambling clowns. They don't really know what they're doing in the market. They're just throwing money around, right? When you actually look into the GameStop situation, it has very little to nothing to do with retail. Retail is just an extra little component to help get things moving in the direction folks needed to move in that are the big money folks, right? And so it ends up kind of making all of retail investors look like clowns. They don't really know what they're doing. They're just something looks attractive, we're going to go buy it. And it paints a bad picture for us all. We all know GameStop's business model is a complete free fall, right? Revenue's down year after year after year, gross profit down year after year. We know it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know GameStop is a broken business model, right? And it's not going to continue to not be a broken business model. The same thing happened to AMC. AMC stock's down 84% in the past year. Stock's down 95% plus from the peak it was many years ago when that whole situation happened, right? But once again, it's talked about as retail is behind this and they're the ones that are moving the stock. No. Retail is just an icing on the cake. The people that want to gamble are going to gamble, right? But that's nothing new in regards to this market. I heard somebody talking earlier, maybe really frustrated. They were trying to paint this picture as, the newer investors, this is what the newer investors do. No, it's not. No, it's not what the newer investors do. This has nothing to do with, we don't play these sorts of games that the rest of folks play. By the way, how's that wall look? That wall looks, I told you I was unbothered. I told you I've been unbothered, man. You know how unbothered you got to be to say you're going to tile an entire wall and spend $20,000? You got to be in a really unbothered state to be doing stuff like that, right? But this is really frustrating to me because they painted, at the end of the day, most good retail investors that actually care, we're buying great companies that are going to be in much stronger positions 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now. You look at the positions I have in the public count, right? All those companies are going to be in a way better place 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now. These aren't GameStops. These aren't AMCs, right? In the private stock group here today, I was looking through the Discord chat trying to find, is anybody talking about, I'm going to try to play GameStop and get in and get out? No, that's clown activity. Clown activity, man. I was looking through the Discord chat. If there was any talk about it, it's just people being fascinated with kind of seeing how the whole show is going to end. And because we know how it's going to end. We know it's going to end poorly. There's no debating that. We know the show is going to end in complete disaster. But the thing I'll say about this one, this show is not going to go on for nearly as long. A lot of people are thinking, this show is going to go a long time. No. The show lasted a decent amount of time in 2021 because people were able to, keep talking about all the meme stocks. It was able to garner a ton of attention. People were flush with cash, the stimulus money. People were looking to gamble at that particular time. Even the rich folks are starting to pull back on gambling. Did you know Wynn Resorts gaming revenue, the casino games in Vegas, were actually down 12%? 12%. last quarter, which shows that's rich folks. Never mind people that are tight on money. People that are tight on money, which was a lot of what was counted on for that first meet, they don't have that sort of money to say, I'm going to go, throw $10,000 in GameStop. I'm going to go throw $20,000 in AMC. I'm going to go throw $5,000. They don't have that sort of money now. Plus, everybody's been burned. We all know how the show's going to end. It's going to end poorly, as it always does. As soon as big money makes their money, they're out. They're flipping out of this, and those stocks will collapse down right on everybody's face, just as they've done in prior ones, right? So, frustrating that it's always gets put on retail. Oh, it's retail. And then you look beneath the surface and you find this has very little to nothing to do with retail. It's big money folks manipulating, doing all their crap they always do. And that's that story, okay? So that was my venting. I feel liberated now that I got to vent, okay? And I didn't even cuss. Man, I am making strides in my life, okay? So there's actually some important subjects I want to speak about here today, okay? GM, the president of GM, went on CNBC and had some very interesting comments. And this has to do with Cybertruck. And it's very important I explain what's going on there in kind of, GM, Ford, and in kind of the dynamics there, okay? A big day for Google out there. Now, the gentleman that's the CEO of the company, Sundar Pichai, he got interviewed. He had a very important statement to make in regards to cost. Okay, and we'll speak about that. Also, Google showed off here today that they're going to have the Nvidia Blackwell chips in early 2025. We're going to talk about why that matters so significantly to Nvidia's numbers and their business model. AWS, arguably, to my opinion, the number 2 at the company, he did step down here today. Now, I want to speak about this, kind of give my opinions. I'm a decent-sized Amazon shareholder. I got $197,000 worth of stock in the public count alone. And I also own Amazon and other portfolios as well. So as somebody that's a decent-sized shareholder, I want to speak about kind of my thoughts on this. Okay. Then I want to tackle this subject. I saw this out there today. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel all sold their stocks just before the market erased $2 trillion. We'll speak about that. That might be a little more venting I have in regards to that subject. And last subject I want to speak about here today is SoFi stocks. SoFi stocks also climbed 7+% in the past 5 days. It was up another 5% today. Is this just because of the whole meme rally? Is it pushing stocks like SoFi? Is that getting wrapped up into that? Or is there something more here? Okay, so we'll speak about that in today's video as well. Appreciate y'all joining me as always. We got a beast to get into here today. All I ask in return, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed here to the channel. Alrighty, guys. So, first up here, GM, the president of GM, was on CNBC here today, and he was speaking about EV trucks. They were speaking a lot about that, okay? Now, what he's saying is he's trying to definitely accelerate the truck business in regards to selling EV trucks, and they remain very committed to this. Now, I think this is very important because listening to kind of his tonality, it sounds like he's taking this extremely serious. I believe the reason he's taking this very serious is I think they're starting to see these Cybertrucks hit the road, and I think they realize the threat to their golden goose has arrived. If you don't know, Chevy pickup trucks are a huge profit generator for GM. I mean, a massive profit generator for GM. And for Ford, absolutely as well. And so if Cybertruck, let's call it the production keeps getting boosted up there. The demand is very high over the coming years. This is going to absolutely put an actual financial dent into companies like General Motors and into companies like Ford. And so this is why it's very important they try to fight Tesla off as much as they can. This is very interesting here. While Ford doesn't disclose model-level profit data, it is estimated that each F-150 earns the company an operating profit of around $10,000 and generates around 90% of Ford's global profits. In fact, the line of trucks is thought to be worth more than the entire company. So this goes to show you that for a company like Ford, right, it is going to, if Cybertruck becomes an actual threat, this is a monumental, existential crisis. Existential? Is that the word I'm looking for? You tell me in the comments, okay? This is a huge crisis for Ford if Cybertruck's actually going to be seriously successful out there, right? F-Series has the most to lose by far. F-Series, there's about 750,000 of those sold last year in the United States, right? Chevy Silverado was number 2, which gets into General Motors and why it's so important, why they're taking EV trucks, or trying to take EV trucks so serious, right? There's a debate if they're actually doing it or not, but at least they're pitching it as that. Chevy Silverado sold 555,000 units last year, right? And then you look at Ram, GMC, major units. Now, the issue in regards to Cybertruck is not just the amount of Cybertrucks that are going to be sold this year, in future years, things like that, okay? It's way bigger than that. Way bigger than that. Here's the real problem, okay? From specific trucks, Chevy can make a lot more money, Ford can make a lot more money. So for instance, Cybertruck, in my opinion, is really attacking the $55,000 and up trucks, okay? These are usually huge profit makers for GM, for Ford, right? So these are the trucks that they have to worry about. Like somebody going and saying, you know what, I want a Cybertruck instead of a Silverado 1500 crew cab, that's $65,000. Somebody says, you know what, I could get an F-150 Platinum that starts at $73,000, or I could get a Cybertruck. You know what, I think the Cybertruck's much cooler. I like that much more. I'm going to go ahead and get a Cybertruck, right? And if these are where Ford and GM make so much money, you look at the pricing of these, right? Look at this. This is in Vegas here, where I live, right? F-150 Lightning Platinum, dual E-motor, extended range battery. Look at the pricing on that. Supposedly they're taking $7,500 off, but I mean, my gosh, $86,000, almost $87,000. I mean, out the door, what are you looking at? $100,000 out the door after your taxes and all that stuff, get tacked on, and all the other crap they hit you with before you actually leave the dealership. I mean, you're looking at probably $100,000+. I think there's a lot of people that are saying, you know what, I could get that F-150 Lightning for, let's call it $100,000 out the door, but I could get a Cybertruck at 60 or 70 out the door, and I like a Cybertruck more, so I'm going to go ahead and get that, right? Look at this, F-250 Lariat here, $93,000. You think about the Raptor series. Raptor was the coolest truck in the world until Cybertruck arrived, right? And totally kind of zapped that away. And these trucks are sold for incredible amounts of money. I mean, usually it's $100K plus for those trucks. If there's even a 5%, if Cybertruck even puts a 5% dent in these sorts of vehicles in terms of how many are being sold, it's huge for the bottom line of Ford. It's huge for the bottom line of General Motors. And remember what Ford and General Motors companies run off of. It's about the bottom line. It's not about the revenue growth. It's not about the long-term EV opportunity and self-driving vehicles and, humanoid robots and AI and all these things that it is for Tesla. For these companies, it's profit. And so if their net income declines and declines and declines because they're not selling as many high-end trucks, right? That's a huge existential crisis for these companies in all seriousness. It's a huge problem. I mean, even if, because you got to understand, okay, there's 750,000 F-150s sold each year, right, roughly. There's a much smaller amount of the high end. Let's say maybe only 100,000 of those are high end. Well, what if 50,000, they sell 50,000 less of the high ends? That could matter to the bottom line by 10-20%, because that's where so much profit's made when they add on all those options and features and things like that, folks. So this is a huge deal. I understand why GM's big boss there, the president, is taking this very serious. And the next thing you got to ask yourself is, what if what Tesla's done to cars and especially SUVs, what if they start to take that sort of market share in trucks over time, right? We know they're the dominant EV player. What if Cybertruck's a much bigger problem than people realize? What if they're going to be able to, in a year from now, 18 months from now, what if they're going to be able to sell the Cybertruck for under $50,000? It's a real possibility that they could start selling Cybertrucks under $50,000 if they want to go there 12 to 18 months from now. What happens if that happens? Then we're talking about Tesla's going to start selling likely hundreds of thousands of Cybertrucks a year. There's a lot of construction going on around here, folks, okay? So, if you hear drills, saws, all type of things, there's a lot going on, okay? So, the moral of the story is Tesla's here. And I know this isn't an exciting year for Tesla, and, it's so depressing. Tesla, oh man, it's such a sad story, Get ready to get drilled. That's all I'm going to say about that. Next one up here. Google McDougal. So with Google, there's been a lot of question marks about Google's business model moving forward. Obviously with LLMs, there's a thought process about LLMs are going to dent into Google's search business. But not only that, there's a thought process that's been talked about for the past year that to basically do, a search through an LLM or something and get one of those responses back versus just be able to type it in on Google search. The cost of that, there's been estimates I've seen is 80 times as much, 100 times as much, like crazy numbers, 10 times as much. Like what? Sundar Pichai got asked that question very direct by, I think her name was Deidre Bosa, woman at CNBC, and I appreciate her asking that question. And he basically made it sound like there's like hardly any increase in cost in regards to this. And so it doesn't sound like that boogeyman that was out there where it was like, oh boy, Google's screwed. Their cost is going to go up immensely and the company's finished. Based upon what the CEO said, it didn't sound like that at all. So that, Google's got other boogeymen out there, and I think the real one is the government potentially denting their business model. But in regards to the whole cost equation, I think that boogeyman, you got to throw that out the door now at this point in time. No. Google also showed off and was bragging about how they're going to have Nvidia Blackwell chips, right, available in early 2025. And so exciting, right? But what's this mean to Nvidia? Because that's a real thing. Because these Blackwell chips, big deal. You're going to have them in early 2025. Guess what? Amazon's going to have them. Tesla's probably going to have them, right? Microsoft's going to likely have them. Everybody's going to have these chips. Everybody in big tech's going to have them. So, big deal. You got them in early 2025. So does everybody else. Big whoopee. What's it mean for Nvidia, though? Okay, it's a continuation of big tech bowing at Jensen's feet. Thank you, Jensen. Jensen, you are our daddy. They're just bowing down to the man left and right. I mean, when you got your big presentation, and this is so crazy because it's basically every big tech company on their conference calls, on their presentations, they can't wait to brag about they're getting Nvidia chips. Elon Musk is doing it. Zuck's doing it. Google CEO Sundar Pichai's doing it. Satya Nadella's doing it. All the smaller big tech companies are doing it. Everybody just can't wait to brag about how they got their hands on some Nvidia chips, right? And so it just goes to show you that the most important company in the world right now, 5 years from now it's going to be different, 10 years from now it might be different, but the most important company in the world right now is Nvidia. They are the center of the universe. When you got every one of the biggest big tech CEOs bowing down to this company, it's a game changer. And so that's when I look at Nvidia and I say it's a must-own stock. It's a must-own. Incredible income statement, incredible balance sheet, incredible track record and history, incredible products and services. But at the end of the day, it's a must-own stock. Must-own. I got 35 shares in this particular account. I got another 33 shares in the public account. I've got to own that stock. You can't just, it's one of those few stocks out there that you just can't bypass and be like, I don't want it. When you got every one of the most powerful CEOs in the world basically saying, we got, we're so happy you're blessing us with some chips, right? Elon Musk is like, we got 35,000 chips from Nvidia. We want 85,000 of the big dogs by the end of this year. And then they're going to be ordering likely unlimited amounts of Blackwells and all these things. And so Nvidia just remains the center of the universe. They're going to report great numbers. They're probably going to report another great guidance. And we'll see where the stock goes. I thought it might go 1,000 plus before earnings. Maybe it doesn't go there. But Nvidia, that's real power. That's real power. When you can get the biggest companies in the world in their conference calls and their presentations bragging about we're going to have their chips. My gosh, is that powerful? You can't put a dollar amount on that. You can't put a dollar amount on that. I'm amazed Nvidia's forward P is not 80 or 100 right now. I'm amazed that it's in the 30s right now. Amazed. Another stock I view as a must-own is like a Meta, right? Meta is like an Nvidia in sense of business. If you run a business, you have to advertise on Meta's platforms. You got to advertise on Facebook. You got to advertise on Instagram. That's where you go. It's the center of the universe for business advertising, right? And then if I think about for big tech companies, the center of the universe for them is Nvidia. So whenever you got this is the center of the universe for this massive industry, it's incredibly powerful. I mean, like the most powerful, okay? So yeah, man, wow, bullish Nvidia. Now, AWS, big news here today. Amazon Web Services CEO, he stepped down, right? Now, this is a big deal for me. I got a lot of shares in the company, right? So I thought USA Today did a pretty good breakdown of everything going on here. Amazon Web Services CEO announced he's stepping down after leaving the e-commerce company cloud computing business. He spent 15 years working for it and put it in a strong position. Adam, who became the CEO of the Amazon subsidiary in 2021, will leave the business to spend more time with family for a while, recharge a bit, and create some mental free space to reflect and consider the possibilities, he says. Okay. Who will replace him? Wow. Starting on June 3rd, Matt Garman, who began with Amazon Web Services as a summer intern in 2005, so he's an internal hire. That's pretty cool. Matt has an unusually strong set of skills and experiences for his new role, Jassy said in the announcement. He's very customer-focused, a terrific product leader, inventive, clever problem solver, write a lot. That's always a good thing when you write a lot. Has high standards and a meaningful bias for action. And in the 18 years he's been with AWS, he's been one of the best learners I've ever encountered. Now, first off, in regards to why this is such a huge deal, if you look at Amazon's latest earnings here, okay, you're going to see for their North American segment, which is like, e-commerce and advertising, about $5 billion in operating income this latest quarter. Their international business, about $903 million of operating income. And then AWS, nearly $10 billion of operating income. So it's clear, if you know anything about Amazon, you know AWS is actually their most important business. I know everybody sees those Amazon trucks going all over your neighborhood, and you probably order a million things on Amazon every single month, right? But at the end of the day, the actual most important business for Amazon is AWS, just factually based, right? Now, here's the deal, okay? First off, Adam left on good terms, so that's good. But I think we need to factor in something very important here, okay? AWS has not had the best growth with Adam as CEO. So I think that should be factored in as well, right? And so when you think about AWS and you think about this was always a business you could basically put in the bag 20% plus revenue growth, and they haven't been that over the past year or two. And I think Jassy wants to get this business to even a higher level. So although things all ended on good terms, it sounds like everybody across the board, it's good. At the same time, I do wonder if they think there's another level up here AWS can go. The space is very competitive. We know Microsoft with Azure is right there. We know, obviously, Google's, further back, but they're there. We know Oracle wants to get bigger and bigger in the cloud. So there's a lot of competition here, as with every major business segment. So AWS has to remain ahead of the competition. And it looks like they're making the move that they think is probably best for the company moving forward. So, it might be just one of those mutual situations where, he maybe wanted to go on do something else, and Amazon's like, that's fine because we probably have, no one's going to say it like that, but we might have somebody better to fit that role, right? So that's that. No, this here day, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Peter Thiel all sold their stocks just before the market erased $2 trillion. Okay, so this type of stuff, it can get people all going, right? It gets the people going. And at the end of the day, you just do a little more research sometimes, right? Okay? Amazon founder Jeff Bezos has been selling shares on and off since 2002. 2002, right? He's no new person to selling shares of Amazon stock. His Amazon stock has gone up immensely over the years, so the dollar amount looks huge nowadays because he's literally the richest man or one of the richest men in the world, right? So, of course, the dollar amount's going to look huge no matter what he sells. But the man's been selling Amazon shares for, he's got sells all the way back 20 plus years ago. And yet look at Amazon stock over the past 20 plus years. It's been absolutely phenomenal. So this is everybody makes a big deal. Oh, the CEO sold stock. Oh my gosh. And then at the end of the day, every Amazon share you've basically sold over the past 20 plus years was a mistake. It was a mistake. Every share Jeff Bezos has ever sold of Amazon stock is basically a mistake at the end of the day. And it will be even a way bigger mistake long term because we know Amazon's got growth for decades to go in the future. So if any shares Jeff Bezos sold last year, the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before, 2010, 2020, whatever year, it's all a mistake in the end. And if you're thinking of it in the context of what's going to become worth more, those dollars he sold for, or the Amazon shares. The Amazon shares are going to become worth a lot more. The e-commerce business has, a decade, multi-decades of growth ahead. The advertising business, same exact thing. AWS, the same thing. Never mind future products and services. That's a bottom line with that, right? So then you say, okay, what about Zuckerberg, right? Zuckerberg. Well, Zuckerberg he sold in the IPO. Did you know Zuckerberg sold around 30 million shares, pocketed over $1 billion? You might think that was a good decision. No, it wasn't. Meta stock has over 10x'd since IPO. And so every one of those shares Zuckerberg sold, he would have been way better off, massively better off on a financial front to have just held those dang shares over that time, because those shares are worth a whole lot more money today, baby. A whole lot more money today, right? But people sell stocks, big executives sell stocks. Sometimes it's to, pay taxes. Sometimes it's to buy fancy stuff, a yacht, a house, a mansion, whatever, right? Sometimes it's just for a little mental clarity, a little freedom, a little I feel good. I got 500 mil in the bank. I got 2 billion in the bank. Yeah, I got my another 10 billion in stocks, but I got this money over here just in case everything fails, right? It feels good. It feels good, right? But it's honestly a bad financial decision. Zuckerberg's been selling Meta stock on and off for years. It's not like that's new. Heck, he's been selling, honestly, shares, diluting himself since the company was in the early days, back in 2004, 5, 6, way before IPO days. He's been diluting himself, right? Which is ownership stake got smaller and smaller. Peter Thiel? Come on, man. Peter Thiel, he's a VC guy. He's selling stuff all the dang time. Come on, man. Peter Thiel, just knock it off with that, right? But this is market mentality. Everybody gets going, oh man, this person sold, that person sold. They're always selling. And by the way, guess what? The best time to sell is when your stock price is actually in a good place. Because let's imagine you're Zuckerberg and you're selling shares in November 2022. It's not a good look. Your stock price is under $100. Your stock price just declined 70%. Your company's getting hammered and you're selling a bunch of shares. It's not a good look, right? If you are going to cash some shares, it better be when that stock's at a record high or somewhere near it, right? It's just the optics of it look a lot better. I love this meme. You guys ever seen the stock market meme before? I've got a stock here that could really excel. Really excel? Excel? Sell? Sell? Sell, 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 sell. This is madness. I can't take it anymore. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. Buy. Oh man, that's the market for you right there, man. It's just beautiful. Now, SoFi stock's also in climbing. Is it a meme situation? Well, here's the deal. Here's how I think about that. One is, has there been any news released recently that could change SoFi stock to all of a sudden people want to buy, right? Well, there's not really any monumental news out here recently. People are writing articles on why they think SoFi should be that price. Nah, it's not really news. The last piece of news we got was well over a week ago, and that was in regards to Anthony Noto buying about $200,000 worth of the stock, and he bought those shares at about $6.90. But that would have moved the stock more last week than this week, right? Which means it could just be caught up in the kind of the meme craze and just... The thing with SoFi, though, is it doesn't deserve to be in the meme stock category. I understand the share price is low. It's less than a $10 stock. SoFi is way different than GameStop and freaking AMC and these other joke stocks, okay? SoFi actually has revenues that are climbing substantially. SoFi is actually starting to put profitable quarters together. SoFi actually has a legit good CEO with a great track record behind him in Anthony Noto. SoFi is actually attracting way more customers year in and year out, quarter in and quarter out. To be put in that meme category is silly, to be quite frank. But I could understand, all these stocks under $10 can just kind of get grouped into that. But there's a big difference between a SoFi and a GameStop and AMC and all these other ones. That's what I'll say about that. And so, if anything, I'd rather all that stuff stop and be able to pick up SoFi shares in the 6s rather than the 7s. I mean, anything I think under 10 is a great deal for SoFi as a long-term shareholder. But I can buy more shares in the 6s than versus the 7s, right? Just a little food for thought in regards to that. Listen, guys, I recorded you a very in-depth new workshop last week, okay? It looks like about 350 of you guys have gotten this free workshop so far. It's the pinned comment down there. 7 steps to 7 figures plus in stocks. It's going to take you through each of these 7 steps, what you need to do, the growth hacks I learned so you can scale faster, and exactly how to implement those 7 stocks, okay? Or seven steps there. I think that should help you out immensely, get you on the right track record. I've gotten so much positive feedback for that workshop overall. Seems like a lot of you guys have really enjoyed that. Like I said, about 350 folks have gotten it so far. I think we should have over 1,000 people have that by the end of this week. So pin comment down there, get free access to that, enjoy it. We'll email it over to you, and I think you're going to get a lot of value out of that. Much love and have a great day.